Hey, this is Shadeja Richardson. It's December 29th, 2021, and I'm going to be talking through some points on chemistry and chemical safety, chapter 6. So, chemistry is everywhere. Beauty and wellness services depend on chemicals. Understanding chemistry is necessary to choose correct products and use them safely. Matter. Matter occupies space and has mass. You can't touch, taste, smell, or see it. It comes in a liquid, solid, or gas. Energy does not occupy space or have mass. Elements. An element is the simplest form of chemical matter and contains only one type of atom. It cannot be broken down into smaller substances without a loss of identity. There are 118 known elements and 98 of them naturally occurring. Identified by a letter symbol on the like for example, carbon would have a C for its symbol on the element chart. Okay, atoms. There's protons, neutrons, and electrons. Protons are positive. They have a positive charge. Neutrons have no charge, and electrons have a negative charge. The number of protons determines which element is which. It determines the element. Atoms are the basic unit of matter, with the nucleus surrounded by negatively charged electrons. Molecules are made by combining atoms, a chemical combination of two or more atoms in fixed proportions. An elemental molecule is a molecule containing two or more atoms of the same element. Like oxygen is O2, for an example. A compound molecule is a chemical combination of two or more atoms of different elements. For example, water is H2 and then O, H2O. Okay. Physical change. Physical change is form is changed without becoming a new substance and no chemical reaction. Chemical change is a change in the chemical composition or makeup of a substance. A chemical change is caused by a chemical reaction that creates new chemical substances, usually by combining or subtracting certain elements. Physical properties are determined without a chemical reaction. Colors, solubility, odor, density, melting point, boiling point, hardness, and glossiness. Those are physical properties. Okay. Chemical properties are determined by a chemical reaction and involve a chemical change in the substance. Like, for example, iron rusts, wood burns. Pure substance, a chemical combination of a chemical combination of matter in definite proportions. Water and salt are good examples of that. Pure substances. A physical mixture is a physical combination of matter in any proportion. Salt water is a good example. Okay, with solute, solvent, and solution. A solution is let's start with the solute. All right, the solute, the substance that is dissolved in the solution. Solvent is the substance that dissolves the solute to make the solution, and the solution is the uniform mixture of two or more substances. So, for example, have some salt and you have a cup of water. The solute would be the salt. The solvent would be the water, because it's going to dilute the solute, which is the salt, and it's going to create the solution, which is going to be salt water. Okay. Miscible is mutually soluble. Trying to get my camera to stay up. It can be mixed together to form solutions. Miscible is basically mixable. It's mixable. For example, water and alcohol. Immiscible is not capable of being mixed together to form stable solutions, such as water and oil. Miss LaDonna had a nice example for us in class the other day. When immiscible liquids are combined, they form suspensions. So a suspension is an unstable physical mixture of undissolved particle and a liquid. They separate over time. So if you have water and oil, can't combine those, they'll separate. Emulsion is an unstable physical mixture of two or more immiscible substances plus a special ingredient called an emulsifier. And an emulsifier is an ingredient that brings two normally incompatible materials together and bonds them into a uniform and fairly stable mixture. Surfactants, substances that allow oil and water to mix. It's one type of emulsifier. It has two distinct parts. So the tail end, or the oil-loving end, is called the lipophilic tail, and it attracts it has an attraction to fat and oils. And the hydrophilic head, which is the other end, is water-loving. It's called the water-loving head. It's capable of combining with or attracting water. So an oil and water emulsion, that's when you have water and you pour a little oil in it. Hold up. Oil droplets are emulsified in water. Oil and water is not as greasy as water and oil. Water and oil, the water droplets are emulsified in the oil, and the water and oil is much more greasier because it's more oil. Overexposure refers to how prolonged, repeated, or long-term exposure to certain product ingredients can cause sensitivity in some people. So like if you're using too much of a product, it could have a bad effect on your skin. It could cause irritation. Anything your skin could have a sensitivity to that specific product. pH stands for potential hydrogen. The camera keeps falling. Stands for potential hydrogen. P is the quantity of, and H is the hydrogen ions. An ion is an atom or a molecule that carries an electrical charge. Ionization is temporary separation of a substance into positive and negative ions. Okay. An anion is an ion with a negative electrical charge. A cation is an ion with a positive electrical charge. Okay. The pH scale is used to measure the acidity. Keeps falling. Okay. pH scale is used to measure the acidity and alkalinity of substances. A pH below 7 is an acidic solution. pH higher than 7 is an alkaline solution. And the scale goes from 0 to 14, 0 being more acidic and 14 being alkaline, and 7 is neutral. And the human skin is around a 5, 5.5. Okay. Alkalines, pH is above 7. They feel slippery and soapy on the skin. Sodium hydrate is used in chemical hair relaxers, callus softeners, and drain cleaners. Redox reactions. Oxidation is oxidizing agent releases oxygen. Reduction, reducing agent adds hydrogen or subtracts oxygen. Oxidation, reduction, reaction in which the oxidizing agent is reduced by losing oxygen, and the reducing agent is oxidized by gaining oxygen. So, chemical safety is a primary concern. Labels, there should be like hazard labels, caution labels, directions. Those should all be on any chemical bottle or anything that you use. Hold up, trying to pull up the book. Be sure to read and follow the directions on all chemical labels. Sorry, my notes are scattered. Okay, with mixing chemicals can create dangerous gases such as chlorine, nitrogen, trichloride, different things. Because these gases can be life-threatening, processes concerning the mixing of chemicals should be clear to everyone who works in the salon, spa, or barbershop, and should never be compromised. Here are some guidelines for prepping and mixing some chemicals. The location you use for mixing chemicals, it must be well ventilated and have protective equipment available, like an eye wash bottle or something if anything happens, you know. Always read chemical labels before mixing. Using a measuring device when mixing chemicals such as measuring cup or spoon. Always add the chemical to water, not the other way around. When using concentrated chemicals like disinfectants, always add the chemical or the disinfectant to the water. When concentrates are mixed and used in a secondary container, such as a spray bottle, that container should be labeled to indicate the product name, ingredients, and any hazard listed on the manufacturer. Disposal. Many of the chemicals that go down the sink drain every day in a salon, spa, or barbershop are dangerous to the environment and create burdens on our wastewater systems, unfortunately. Although many products have instructions for disposal of the container, few address disposal of the chemical itself. Many parts, while most states and countries do not currently regulate the disposal of chemicals in the salons, bar, or barbershop, it is highly likely that such rules will be enacted over the next few years. Safety data sheets. OSHA requires that employees be notified of any chemical of any chemical in their workplace that could be hazardous. So, the document used to provide this information to workers and first responders, a safety data sheet. While they contain essentially the same information, there's some significance between the two. Between a MSDS, the material safety data sheet, all safety data sheets are formatted into 16 categories with 9 accepted pictograms and are provided for free from the manufacturer of the chemical. So, every hazardous chemical should have a safety data sheet, and you must keep a safety data sheet for all your chemicals in your spa or barbershop or anywhere your business is. Safety data sheets must be immediately available to all employees in the event of an emergency. These are some safety data sheet categories. Identification. It includes the name of the product and contact information for the manufacturer or distributor. It also contains recommended use and restrictions on use. Hazard identification. It lists all the hazards associated with the product and include hazard classification like flammable or anything like that, precautionary statements, and hazard pictograms. Composition information on ingredients. It identifies the ingredients of the product. First aid measures includes short and long-term symptoms and first aid instructions. Firefighting measures list suitable and unsuitable fire extinguishers, any chemical hazard associated with the fire, and recommend protective equipment or precautions. Accidental release measures provides instructions for proper cleanup of a spill. Handling and storage includes guidelines for safety handling and storage of chemicals, including incompatible chemicals. Exposure control, personal protection, provides recommended limits on exposure and methods of reduced exposure. Physical and chemical properties consists of a minimum of 18 properties, from color to pH to viscosity. Stability and reactivity provides information on the environmental stable and reaction risk associated with the product. Toxicological information details the risk of exposure, including symptoms like skin irritation and measure of toxicity. Ecological information covers the impact of the chemical on the environment. Disposable considerations lists any procedures for disposal. Transport information provides guidelines and restrictions for safe transportation. Regulatory information includes any specific safety, health, or environmental regulation, and any other information indicates when the SDS was created or last updated. It's a lot of categories. So these are some vocabulary words I have for the safety data sheets. A carcinogen is a substance that causes or is believed to cause cancer. A mutagen, on the other hand, is a substance that may cause cancer, but not always. It just can cause cancer. A combustible material is capable of igniting and burning, so that means it's flammable. Flammable material is easier to ignite. Okay, that's all my notes. Knowing chemistry and about chemical safety is very important for an esthetician. because it's very important for an esthetician to know, because we're using products on these people's skin, and if we don't know about the product or about any dangers that could happen if used on someone's skin who had a bad reaction to it, we need to know how to handle that. We need to know chemistry. We need to know what's in the bottles. You know, we need to know what kind of products we're putting on their skin to know. It's one thing to know the skin, but it's another thing to, you know what to use, what products to use, what products are good for this type of skin, what products are not good for this skin, what you shouldn't use. We need to know how these products are made and what they're made with, and how to properly store them and use them safely.